You're scrolling at 7 a.m. again, not because you're excited about anything, because you're numb to everything. And somewhere in that numbness, that something should feel different by now. That's not laziness. That's your nervous system telling you it's missing a signal it's been designed to receive for 200,000 years. Most men won't admit this. They'll talk about the economy, or their job, or their girlfriend. They'll blame their phone. But the real crisis is deeper. It's not about what you're failing to do. It's about what you stopped needing to be. Your great-great-grandfather didn't wake up wondering if his life had meaning. He woke up because predators existed. Because his family depended on his specific physical, undeniable competence. His motivation wasn't inspirational. It was biological. He was needed in a way that was immediate and non-negotiable. His muscles had a job. His instinct had a job. His risk-taking had a purpose. And then, slowly, then all at once, that structure disappeared. Modern life removed the predator, but it didn't remove the nervous system designed to hunt it. That system is still running. It's just got nowhere to go. You're wired for a life that no longer exists, living in a life that has no obvious use for that wiring. That's not depression exactly. It's misalignment. And misalignment feels like fog. Think about the last time you felt genuinely alive. Not happy. Alive. There's a difference. One is an emotion. One is presence. One is when you were doing something that required 100% of your attention and 100% of your capacity simultaneously. When you were pushing a limit that actually mattered. When the stakes were real. Now think about your typical Tuesday. Your boss didn't need you to be brave. Your partner doesn't need you to solve a physical problem. Your kids need you to show up, but they don't need you to be capable in the way your body understands capability. You've got status, comfort, flexibility, security, all the things previous generations would have killed for, and you feel hollow. This is the invisible trap of modern privilege. Psychologists call it existential drift, the feeling that your actions don't carry weight because nothing tangible depends on them. But evolution calls it something different. Evolution calls it abandonment. Your nervous system was built by millions of years of selection for men who needed to provide, protect, and prove. Those three drives are still running at full voltage. They've just been given nothing to do except chase hollow proxies, status that doesn't mean survival, wealth that doesn't mean safety, sex that doesn't mean legacy. Here's what makes this worse. You know it's hollow. That's the actual devastation. You're not confused about whether a promotion matters, you're acutely aware that it doesn't, not in the way your body needs something to matter. And that awareness, that gap between what you're told should fulfill you and what your nervous system actually recognizes as meaningful, that gap is where depression lives. There's also something else happening that nobody talks about. You've been taught to distrust your own instincts. For the last 15 years, you've received the message, explicit and implicit, that your natural drives are the problem, that your need for dominance is toxic, that your need for physical challenge is compensating for something, that your need to be the provider is patriarchal. Not all of these criticisms are wrong, but here's the thing. They address the expression of those drives, not the drives themselves. The drive doesn't disappear because you told it to be ashamed. It just gets redirected into comparison, into resentment, into a low-level rage at a system that told you your nature was broken, then offered you no acceptable outlet for it. You can't be a warrior in the old sense. That's violence, that's unconscious, that's bad. But you also don't have permission to be a man in the way your body understands manhood. So you exist in a kind of limbo, neutered not by tyranny, but by kindness. That's somehow worse. The research supports this. Studies on purpose and male psychology show that men who have a clear obstacle to overcome report higher life satisfaction than men with equal material resources but no meaningful challenge. A man with a difficult goal and real stakes feels more alive than a man with comfort and freedom and nothing to prove. This isn't toxic. This is how the male nervous system evolved to experience meaning through meaningful friction. And here's where it gets complicated. This is the part that will feel wrong to say, but is true anyway. You need something real to lose. Not metaphorically, real. That could be a business you could fail at, a physical goal that might humiliate you, a commitment that costs something, a skill that requires years of humbling yourself, or a person whose welfare actually depends on your presence and judgment. Without that, without the possibility of real failure and real consequence, your achievement gets hollow sounding. You optimize, you execute, you hit targets, and it all feels like playing a video game on a difficulty setting where you can't die. The men who report the highest life satisfaction aren't the ones with the most comfort. They're the ones with the most at stake. They're the ones whose choices matter because somebody else depends on the outcome. They're the ones pushing into something that could break them. This is uncomfortable to admit because you've been sold the opposite story for years. That growth should be painless, that you should always be happy, that struggles are supposed to feel good and motivating. They don't. Real struggles feel like the opposite of motivation. They feel like necessity. And that's where the alive feeling lives. In necessity. In stakes. In the moment when you stop doing something because it sounds good and start doing something because people depend on you. Here's the trap, though. And this is where most self-help goes wrong. You can't choose necessity the way you choose a gym membership. You can't manufacture stakes through willpower. Your nervous system knows the difference between a self-imposed challenge and a real one. It can smell intention. That's why the men who feel most alive aren't the ones who read productivity books or set ambitious goals. They're the ones who got backed into a corner, who had to learn something fast or failed at something public or had a kid or took a risk that couldn't be walked back. This is the paradox you're living in. You need real consequences to feel alive. But you've been taught that real consequences are reckless. You need to matter to someone in a material way, but you've been taught that need is codependent. You need obstacles that could actually harm you, but you've been given a life engineered to be safe. So where does that leave you? Numb. Scrolling. Waiting for motivation that can't arrive because motivation was always a symptom, never the cause. The cause was necessity. The cause was that if you didn't figure it out, people would suffer. And you've removed that, or it's been removed for you. The way out isn't another productivity system. It's not therapy that helps you accept your feelings. It's finding or creating something in your life where your presence and capacity actually matter, where you're not optimizing but surviving, where you can fail in front of people, where the stakes are real enough that your body stops questioning whether it should care. Most men won't do this. It's easier to stay numb. But the ones who do, who rebuild a life with meaningful friction, with real stakes, with actual people, depending on their growth, they describe the same thing. It felt like waking up from a very long sleep. You're not lost because you're broken. You're lost because the life you're living doesn't require you to be found. Remember, think more deeply, live more intentionally. Repeat the process for a lifetime of growth. Because personal transformation doesn't happen through a single insight. It happens through continuous reflection, conscious action, and the courage to keep learning what it means to be human. If you're seeking wisdom, inner growth, emotional resilience, and practical tools for living a more examined and meaningful life, you're in the right place. Wisdom grows through reflection and discussion. If this video brought you value, subscribe to continue the journey, leave a like, and tell us your perspective in the comments. I'd love to see how you see it.